Wow. CBS really brought the BS to debate moderation. Let's take a look.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own
leadership. Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
When I look at Norah O'Donnell's face,
the economy, thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check. And
I can't help but be reminded of that gut-wrenching moment in The Shawshank Redemption.
How can you be so obtuse? What? What did you call me?
And as for Margaret Brennan, obtuse is an understatement. Talk about drunk with power. She looks absolutely giddy about cutting these mics off.
The audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
And they wonder why mainstream media ratings are collapsing. Common sense people know intuitively that these Haitian migrants are not here legally in the true spirit of the word. At best, that status is a technicality. They snuck in illegally, claim to have a good excuse, and our current leaders are stupid enough to let them hang out for 5 to 7 years before we decide if that excuse checks out. I've got nothing against these people, but they shouldn't be here. But that's okay. I believe this kind of ham-fisted gaslighting is actually good. With each broadcast, more and more people are waking up to what the corporate-controlled media actually is and who they represent. It's certainly not conservatives. It's not centrists. And I got news for you, my liberal Democrat friends. It's not you either. They represent a tiny, parasitic, elite class who benefit from controlling what you and I believe. I often hear the question, why are we so divided? Are you familiar with The Wizard of Oz? Well, it's like we're living in the land of Oz, and half of the people have seen behind the curtain. If you're not in that half, catch up. We need you. Now, there are hundreds of videos analyzing who won. This will not be one of them. I see this debate as a fantastic opportunity to further expose what the mainstream media truly is: the enemy of everyday people. Welcome back to Shadow Wreckardz, independent media and film. That's right, we're going to get into some filmic content, not in this video, but that's coming to the channel. Now let's get back into the topic at hand. Yes, the mainstream media is the enemy of everyday people, but they have to be on the side of someone, right? Who are they aligned with? And what do these people want? Well, I'm going to save my most controversial debate takeaway for last, and at that point, I will touch on the who. It's a complex subject, and it's really step 2. Step 1 is realizing that they're not on your side. So if they are your primary source of information, you're literally allowing your perceptions to be shaped by your enemy. What are some of the perceptions pushed? All the wars are important, necessary, unavoidable, and for your security. The rising crime in cities is either not happening or can't really be understood. Our country's chronic health problem has nothing to do with what we eat or inject into our bodies, but we can definitely solve it with more pharmaceuticals. And illegal immigration is not a threat. Illegal immigrants do jobs that American citizens won't do. Meanwhile, according to the New York Times, by way of Business Insider, I didn't feel like paying for the Times, about 135 of the nearly 700 hotels in New York City are now sheltering asylum seekers. No hotel that switched to housing migrants has yet to revert to a conventional hotel. Why? It's lucrative. Who's paying for that? How is the commandeered supply, I believe over 16,000 rooms, impacting room prices? Driving them up, obviously. What's the impact on crime rates? You don't think that's a problem? Well, if you're looking with your own eyes and common sense, of course you do. But if you're looking through the lens of your favorite mainstream news program, you probably don't. In fact, you might believe it's right-wing or worse, racist to even express such a concern. But let's move on to the next clip.
Earlier today, Iran launched its largest attack yet on Israel, but that attack failed, thanks to joint U.S. and Israeli defensive action. President Biden has deployed more than 40,000 U.S. military personnel and assets to that region over the past year to try to prevent a regional war. Iran is weakened, but the U.S. still considers it the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it has drastically reduced the time it would take to develop a nuclear weapon. It is down now to 1 or 2 weeks' time.
1 or 2 weeks? Bullshit. And convenient bullshit, too. Iran just launched a feeble and ineffective attack on Israel, and now we're hearing they're no more than 2 weeks away from developing a nuclear weapon. Gee, I wonder what our intelligence experts will recommend. That we invade? Again, how do they know? I believe they know the same way they knew that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and was planning to use them against the U.S. and its allies. They make it up. They make it up to gain support for whatever it is they want to do. Like Gaddafi. We really took out Gaddafi because he was harming his own people. Come on. Now, for the fact checkers, this is only my humble opinion. Next clip.
Thank you. Senator, I want to give you an opportunity to respond there. The governor mentioned that President Trump has called climate change a hoax. Do you agree?
And this will be my most controversial take. Carbon-caused climate change is not a hoax. It's a con. According to Wikipedia, a hoax is a widely publicized falsehood created to deceive its audience with false and often astonishing information with either the malicious or humorous intent of causing shock and interest in as many people as possible. That's not what it is. Now, don't get it twisted. I give Trump a lot of props for tackling this nonsense head on. I just wish he would use more accurate terminology. It's not some frivolous hoax. It's a con that has a very specific purpose, which we'll get into. But first, let's watch how the moderators frame this topic.
Let's turn now to Hurricane Helene. The storm could become one of the deadliest on record. More than 160 people are dead and hundreds more are missing. Scientists say climate change makes these hurricanes larger, stronger, and more deadly because of the historic rainfall.
Scientists say. Not some scientists say. There may be some truth to that, but it is egregiously misleading. Many scientists say that it's complete bullshit. Watch meteorologist and founder of the Weather Channel, John Coleman, go hard in the paint against CNN's Brian Stelter on this topic.
First, let me bring in John Coleman. He's in San Diego this morning. Thank you for being here.
It's nice to be on CNN. Hello to all your viewers. I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear, Mr. Kennedy's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney. And yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform. And I regret it's become political instead of scientific. But the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder, though, is when you see
you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN. But I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
If you look at Coleman's website on the Wayback Machine, you can see link after link to experts refuting the great global warming swindle, what I call the carbon con. Whatever apparent consensus exists was created over decades by systematically rewarding scientists, politicians, and media figures who supported the carbon-caused climate change narrative and punishing those who did not. The people who want this agenda to succeed have deep pockets and are very powerful. Only scientists with what Joe Rogan would refer to as FU money or FU circumstances could afford to push back. In other words, very few could fight this without taking a major hit to their livelihood. It's never been a fair fight. If it was, this debate would be over. There is no carbon-caused global warming, and there is certainly no emergency. I believe this deception has been relatively successful because the average person can't imagine that anyone could pull off a con so audacious and ambitious. So where did it start? I'm not going to do a deep dive on this subject here, but I'd be happy to in a future video. If you'd like to see more on this, please like, comment, subscribe, share. The more support the channel gets, the more time and energy I can put into these videos. But I will attempt a shallow dive here. In 1968, David Rockefeller helped found an organization called the Club of Rome. Now, according to his autobiography, he considered himself a proud internationalist. Today, we more frequently use the term globalist, but it means the same thing. He was aligned with a subset of the elite who believed that major decisions should be made at the global level as opposed to the national level. Now, I don't mean a world where we all get together and vote for president of the globe. No, these decisions would be made by selected officials, not elected officials. Officials selected by elites like himself. Now, the first major publication to come out of the Club of Rome was called Limits to Growth. Here's a quick summary. The global system of nature probably cannot support, very scientific, present rates of economic and population growth much beyond the year 2100. The 5 basic factors that ultimately limit growth on this planet include population increase and non-renewable resource depletion. So the people behind the creation of this organization believed and still believe that population growth and resource utilization must be managed at a global level by people they appoint. And don't fall for any of the UN propaganda about this. These people do not see you and I as equals. So the management will have nothing to do with fairness. It will have everything to do with protecting their interests at your expense. They need to power their yachts, jets, bunker mansions, and aircraft carriers, and you will be nothing more than a heavily taxed carbon footprint. For as long as you can survive. Remember, these people also believe the world is vastly overpopulated. Now, this rather self-serving narrative wasn't compelling to most people. It also met a lot of resistance by those who either disagreed with the basic premise, believed in individual liberties, or valued human life. They needed a better vehicle to advance their agenda, and carbon-caused global warming became that vehicle. Your resource consumption isn't just pissing off the elites, it's threatening to cause the extinction of the entire human race. More compelling? You still often hear the concerns about sustainability mixed in with concerns about climate change. That's because the sustainability narrative morphed into the global warming narrative, which is now morphed into the climate change narrative. Notice that although the narrative has changed, it gives them the excuse to do exactly what they've wanted to do all along: control population growth and resource utilization. So this effort to sell the public on the carbon con has been going on for decades. If they can pull it off, if they can convince the world that there is an existential threat to humankind, imagine what they can get away with. Would a policy that could result in the starvation of 1 billion people be out of the question? If the alternative is human extinction, perhaps not. There's not much you can't justify if you can convince people that extinction is the alternative. And I think I'll wrap it up there. If I haven't mentioned this already, I'm Scott. I love making these videos. I think they're important. If you want more content like this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share. The more traction this channel gets, the more time and energy I will invest in producing great content for you. See you soon.